So today, we're going to talk about Kate Fagan's really powerful book, What Made Maddy Run. It's the story of Madison Holleran, an Ivy League athlete who, from the outside, she looked like she had the perfect life. But as we're about to see, the reality was so much more complicated and ultimately just heartbreaking.
This one line from the book, it just gets right to the absolute heart of Maddy's story. On the outside, she was this perfect, all-American teen, but on the inside, a total collapse was happening, completely hidden from everyone.
And that internal collapse really came to a head in January of 2014. Maddy was getting ready to go back to the University of Pennsylvania for her second semester. For most kids, that's a time of excitement, right? But for Maddy, it was a moment filled with just this deep, heavy dread.
Just look at this timeline. The disconnect is staggering. Just 2 days after telling her dad she's having suicidal thoughts, her entire focus seems to shift to her shattered phone. It's like that was a real, tangible problem she could fix, unlike what was going on inside her head. And all the while, she's texting her friends like everything is totally normal. Just small talk, making plans, completely hiding the truth.
And this wasn't her just hinting around. It was a direct plea. On that car ride back to school, her dad, Jim, is so desperate that he actually suggests they just keep driving, just blow right past the exit for Penn. But Maddy says no, she has plans she has to keep. That sense of routine, of obligation, it just pulls her right back in.
So to really get why Maddy felt this crushing pressure, you have to understand who she was before college. She wasn't just a pretty good student or a talented athlete, she was a superstar. The kind of kid everyone points to as the absolute model for success.
You can just picture it, can't you? It's move-in day. The dorm room is empty. This whole new life is about to begin. And Maddy's mom takes this picture of her, arms up in a victory V shape, huge smile on her face. It's a snapshot of pure, unfiltered hope, the absolute peak of excitement for what everyone tells you will be the best 4 years of your life.
And yeah, her resume, it kind of explains that hope. State championships in 2 different sports, a straight-A student, popular. She was the definition of an overachiever. But this one choice right here, it's absolutely crucial. She gave up a scholarship to play soccer, her first love, to run track at a prestigious Ivy League school. It was a decision that put prestige way ahead of passion.
So, what happens when someone who's only ever known how to win is suddenly thrown into a game where the rules are totally different? Well, for Maddy, that first semester at Penn was the beginning of a total collapse.
In high school, life is basically a ladder. It's this series of clear, measurable steps you have to take. And Maddy had mastered this ladder. She knew exactly what to do to get to the next rung, and she did it perfectly every single time. Progress was everything to her.
But then you land in college, and that ladder, it's just gone. As Kate Fagan writes, it becomes this sprawling, confusing tree. There is no clear next step. Success isn't easy to measure anymore. The time that won you a state championship in high school suddenly puts you in the middle of the pack. And without those clear signs of progress, Maddy was just completely lost.
And this moment, this is where that split between her real life and her online life becomes undeniable. At a championship race, she pushes her body so hard that she physically collapses. It's a terrifying moment. But just minutes later, she posts a smiling photo to Instagram. When her mom later mentioned how happy she looked in all her pictures, Maddy's response was just chilling. Mom, it's just a picture. Her curated life and her real life were now 2 completely different worlds.
Okay, so Maddy's story is obviously deeply personal, but, and this is so important, it's also a window into a much bigger, often hidden crisis happening in college athletics. She wasn't fighting this battle alone, even though it must have felt that way.
And when you look at the data, it's just staggering. A survey from 2014 found that almost half of all female student athletes say they feel anxious. More than a quarter feel depressed. And get this, 1 in 7 has seriously considered suicide. These aren't just numbers on a chart. This is an epidemic of quiet desperation.
So why isn't anyone talking about this? Why don't more athletes speak up? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is this culture of toughness. From a young age, they are trained to push through pain, to never show weakness. Can you imagine trying to explain that your brain hurts when there's a sign on the wall that literally says, pain is weakness leaving the body? It creates this world where asking for help feels like you're failing.
To really understand what this feels like on the inside, Kate Fagan shares this conversation she had with another young writer named Megan Armstrong. Armstrong described her depression with this devastating line. Just, wow. Imagine that being the very first thought you have every single day. All right, let's get back to Maddy's story. Because what's really important to remember here is that she wasn't just letting this happen to her. She was actively trying to find a solution, actively trying to get help, but the path was just filled with dead ends.
Her family, they're trying everything. They suggest transferring, something that had worked for her older sister. But Maddy knew deep down this was different. When her sister asked how she felt when she came home from Penn for breaks, Maddy admitted, "I'm still unhappy. I'm not happy anywhere." She realized the problem wasn't her environment. It was inside her.
And this is the part that's just infuriating. Maddy does the exact right thing. She reaches out for professional help at the school, but she's told the first available appointment for just an initial screening is 2 weeks away. When you're in a crisis, 2 weeks feels like an eternity. And when she finally gets there, the session is generic, impersonal, all about homesickness. It completely failed to see the depth of her crisis. The system just failed her.
So Maddy's story really leaves us with this huge and honestly really heavy question. Her entire life, she was rewarded for being perfect, for climbing that ladder, for posting the smiling photo. But when that perfect facade finally crumbled and the imperfect person underneath desperately needed help, there was just no space for her. And that's a question we really need to ask ourselves in our own lives and in our communities.